Okay.
Going live. This Hangout on Air is live.
Awesome. Welcome.
I was gonna introduce this with, "I got you in a stranglehold, baby." You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm leaving this call if this continues.
It's only gonna get worse from here. Jesper's here. Hi, Jesper.
Hi. Do you hear me?
Crystal clear.
Yeah.
Can't see you though, however.
Yeah, working on that.
I just see the thresholded portrait.
So we are actually broadcasting here because we've got a couple of people joining us live today. So if there's anybody there so far, welcome to the show. We're going to kick it off here.
Would we be able to see them? No. It's a one-way mirror?
We can't see their video, but we can... I don't know. You see, this is these are the questions we have yet to answer.
These are the questions you need an audience to answer. Okay, so next question is: do they have? And maybe if they are there, they can answer this. Do they have any way of communicating with us?
They do. They should have a question and answer. The question and answer app is live, so they should be able to speak to us, and we can respond to them.
This is going to be so. Please, if you're listening, help. No, if you are listening, can you test that system out, please?
Yes.
Because I'd love to know.
I would love for you, before we start recording the podcast, since we're on live video streaming to the entire world, I'd like you to show the entire world what shirt you're wearing.
Oh, check this out. It's pretty nice. This arrived in the mail yesterday from Graham. It's kind of a. I think he thinks it really bothers me, and it does really deep down. I think, what did the message say? Something like "Eat it, Python."
It's a Julius shirt, by the way, and now I guess I have to edit this into the podcast episode. But I'm very glad. I'm very happy. The world is very happy to see you wearing that shirt, man.
I love it. It's definitely the geekiest shirt I own. It's from Zazzle, I believe. Graham said he got, well, it said on the packet, and I must say I really like the fabric. It's really nice. It's kind of like a running type shirt, but halfway between that and cotton, so it doesn't look super technical. But anyway, just FYI, Zazzle shirt seemed to be awesome.
Yeah.
Worth knowing.
Okay, so since we didn't get a chance to do this before we started broadcasting live, I'm just going to tell Jesper real quick. As you've heard on the other episodes, Matt and I are going to give a couple bullet points of news. Feel free to jump in if you want, and if you don't want, we'll get to you in about 5 minutes with a nice introduction from Matt. Okay, so let me. We are recording audio.
Wait. What? I was just going to say, how are you feeling, Jesper? You
a little bit nervous.
Oh, don't be nervous. Oh my God. I just mean with the headache. I
actually don't know what to expect because I don't listen to podcasts.
Oh.
So,
yeah, it's just nonsense like this all the way through, mate.
Pretty much.
I can deal with that. Yeah, no, my headache is mostly gone, especially since I'm sitting down. It's fine.
Good.
So.
Okay. Well, I'm afraid it's probably going to come back.
It probably will, but I'll just blame you.
Guilty as charged, causing headaches everywhere.
All right,
oh, God.
Here we go. I'm going to kick us off.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Undersampled Radio episode 20, I think, but I messed that up last week, so just don't listen to me for the remainder of the show. We're here with a couple of interesting folks today, one of whom is Matt Hall. Hi, Matt.
Hi. Hey, how's it going?
Can you tell us about your first bullet point there?
What news? That's it?
That's
no
it.
No more niceties?
Chop, chop.
Okay, well, I think I've got a migraine coming on now. I'm just kidding. Yeah, well, I don't know if I could really call this a news item yet. It's more like something that's just creeping onto the edge of the radar. but David Holmes yesterday mentioned...
Wait, this is good. You were the one that wrote it into the news items, by the way.
Yeah, it must have been... I think I had a seizure. I can't remember...
It into news,
I can't remember writing this.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, fair enough. You know, I accept what you're saying. So David Holmes, who is the awesome... he's an EVP, I think, at EMC, put something on Slack saying, hey, check it out, Landmark, as I'm quoting here, Landmark just gave OpenWorks and the Decision Space platform to an open community project, ! And a link to www.openearth.community. It's another one of those funky URLs. So openearth.community. You can go there, but there really isn't much there. There's a little bit of blurb, some kind of cool words in it about software, openness, technology, awesome. And then you can email someone. It turns out the email is to a chap at Landmark Graphics. So Landmark is the company that makes OpenWorks and Decision Space. And so it turns out they're behind, I guess, this Open Earth community. But I didn't write this down in the show notes, but I think David put it on Slack that it's a sort of consortium of a bunch of companies, including Shell and Total and some others, and also some technology companies, including EMC. And that's basically all we know right now. So Graham and I reached out to this chap at Landmark via David to see if he wanted to come on to Undersampled Radio to chat about what the Open Earth community is and what they're going to do with an open source OpenWorks / Decision Space, which all could be totally incredible and awesome. And I'm very curious about it. And basically that's all I know. So end of story. Pretty cool.
Yes, it will be, and we hope to have what's his face on the show pretty soon.
I mean, he's a strategy and business guy. I did some sort of stalking on the internet, I guess, and it's just a strategy and business guy. So pretty high level, but I think will be able to hopefully excite us all with. I'm hoping that this is like they've had some kind of epiphany about the power of open source community and technology, and are going to bring some real dollars to the space. Basically, that's kind of what it comes down to. Some real clout as well, I guess, marketing reach and that kind of thing. So I'm excited.
Okay, so next on the list, we're moving right along here. We got a show to do, man. Data from images.
Oh yeah. Oh, I don't know if I can talk about that. I will literally talk for an hour. So
okay.
I've mentioned it before. It's a pet project. It came up again because of the thing that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, which was an Elsevier contest for dark data recovery. By the way, that contest, the deadline was the 31st of August, but they've pushed it back now to the 16th of September. So A, more time, B, probably not quite enough people, so both of those things are good. So maybe an opportunity there. My particular project that I'm working on with Matteo, who we've had on the show before, with Matteo Nicoli, and also Diego Castañeda, who's a chap here in Halifax, among others, is basically extracting data from a scientific image of, say, a map or a seismic section. So without knowing the color bar, can you figure out what the data look like? I had a bit of a breakthrough working on that. It basically comes down to, at the heart of it is a graph theory problem, traversing a graph with the shortest route. And it's just been a fun learning experience, like these things always are, where you sort of connecting ideas about RGB color spaces and k-mean string and graph theory, and it's just fun to play with. So I'll talk at length again about it sometime in the future, because it's kind of a work in progress. That's it. So anyway, look, how is an NP problem? We're not getting into NP right now. Did I bring that up? I did. I apologise. Again, evidently wrote these notes in a hurry. Julia inverter thing that you talked about before. You're saying you published that now? Are you speaking to me still? Has Graham?
His picture is frozen.
Has Graham gone? Unbelievable. That explains why he's not interrupting me. He did this to me last week. I tell you what, why don't we just let him jump in with, if he wants to talk about his Julia inverter thing, he can do that next time. Instead, I'm going to move along with introducing you, Jesper, and then we can have a chat. Sound good?
That sounds awesome.
So, Jesper's an awesome young geophysicist. He's just recently started a PhD in Copenhagen. Is it the Technical University of Copenhagen? Am I saying that right?
Almost. It's Technical University of Denmark. I don't know.
Of Denmark,
yeah.
In Copenhagen. And he's also a very active blogger and social media dude. It's active on Twitter. I think actually Twitter is probably how I met you, so to speak. Jesper and I actually got to meet in person at EAGE this year, which was awesome fun, and indeed were housemates for a little while. So that was cool. He blogs at The Way of the Geophysicist. I think it's, well, go on. It's the-geophysicist.com. So the-geophysicist.com, find him there. And yeah, just all-round awesome German geophysicist guy. Welcome.
Thank you.
Where are you today, Jesper?
Excuse me?
Where are you?
I'm actually home. So I'm
Okay.
in Copenhagen, right in the center right now. I figured my microphone at home might be nicer than anything I can build up from the office. So yeah.
Right. I remember you telling me you were enjoying your bike out to the university site. Are you still doing that?
Yes, very much, very much. I really started to love Copenhagen, and I don't know, the university as well. So my experience to the end in Hamburg wasn't too well. It was very stressful, and our institute wasn't working so well anymore. And now I'm coming into this fresh institute that is full of ideas, feeling itself like a startup a little bit, and we're having these workshops about culture and communication, and we have all sorts of data available and all sorts of software available, and it's just general awesomeness all around. And yeah, Copenhagen itself is also really nice. I really like it here. All the old buildings, and I don't know, the Danes, they have this word which has kind of world famousness now. It's hygge, and it means this coziness that you find. And you really feel that here. You can like get candles and pillows and all that stuff everywhere. And if you don't make your home cozy, you're gonna have a terrible time when summer is over. And I don't know if it has started yet. Today was a really warm day, but that was kind of a surprise. So yeah, it's awesome.
That's really
if you
cool.
get to come here.
Yeah. I last was there. I think 2012. EAG was there. So that, and been there once. I ran the marathon there many years ago, and it's just such a fantastic city. It was kind of, at least coming from Norway and the UK kind of thing, felt like a mixture of Scandinavia with like continental Europe. You know, it's got the Scandinavian kind of mindset and the hygge and all that kind of thing, and the awesome people, and just really chilled out, but with the kind of not Mediterranean, but Western European kind of cafe tables on the street and that kind of thing, which you don't find in Norway.
Oh yeah,
very often.
And it's cheap in Norway still.
And it's without Norway's crazy prices.
Yeah.
So that's really cool that you're still really enjoying Copenhagen, and it sounds like you're also really enjoying the new university environment and the team that you're in, or the research group.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, right now let me count. So we're two seniors. One of them is also a geophysicist, the only other one at the entire center. Well, with me. And then we have a senior fracture specialist. They're both called Michaels. So it gets very complicated when you talk to others about our, well, kind of bosses, because it's always Michael. Then we have a postdoc in sedimentology coming now on 1st September, and one is already working who's also a fracture specialist from Stanford. So that's kind of cool. And
Wow.
my other colleague is this super smart young lady from Norway, and on the paper, she's a sedimentologist, but that's just because they didn't have geophysics, where she decided to do her master. And right now, she's just doing BHI and all that stuff and diving nose first into, let's call it vintage data. It's, I don't know, I like this word vintage. It just describes, it still has some value, but it might taste really, really bad. So yeah. So,
And what is that? What is the group then? You say there's only one other geophysicist in the group. What's the group's sort of task in life?
we're reservoir characterization. So what we're planning to do is in the Danish North Sea we have chalk fields. So they say they're naturally fractured, and to a certain extent that might be true. But the further north you go, the less true it is. So what has been happening is that the recovery rate has been dropping very steeply. So Maersk has said, okay, we have to do something about this. So they took 1 billion kroner, um, divided by 7.5, then you have euros. So maybe divided by 8, then you have US dollars, I think, and gave it to our center, the DHRTC, which was founded in 2014, and said, here, solve this. And what we're doing is advanced water flooding. So they're planning to do a lot of pilot projects of water flooding, and asking us to give some new input how to better do this, because how it's mostly done is just they pump seawater in and hope all the oil gets out, and usually what happens is some oil gets out and then you just start producing the same water that you just pumped in. So
Right.
through what we're trying is to get a fracture model into the dynamic reservoir models, because what's usually done is the fractures in a in a normal model, like in a Petrel model or a reservoir model, are just an optimization parameter. So someone numerically matches or inverts for the fracture coefficient, let's say it like that, and that has nothing to do with the reality. And we're trying to improve in that case. Yep.
So your background is in imaging, right? I mean, how did you get into this water flooding research?
Um, Basically, they wanted someone who has seen seismic before, and I was the most suitable person, since I have a strong physics background and a strong, um, actually, like processing background. They were very happy to take me into the group. Um, to be honest, that is a very hard question, because I feel a lot out of the group. They're all geologists. They know about fractures, chalk, carbonates, all that stuff, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I like waves, and I can't see your fractures in my waves. So I guess coming from that, it's mostly they wanted someone that knows what geophysicists do to their data and build on that, and I'm very happy to do that.
Yeah, it sounds like an awesome, diverse group. How much seismic work are you doing?
A lot, actually. Well, right now I'm a bit in the literature study point, but what I'm doing right now is trying to take different attributes to build a fracture map out of one of the reservoir data we have, and from this fracture network compare it to BHI imaging to see if our reservoir model will actually be upscalable. So that's kind of the plan, what I'm doing right now. So I'm having a look at all these 3D data attributes, which is kind of fun, because in my old university we didn't even have the hardware to deal with 3D seismics.
Wow. Well, it's going to be exciting, huh?
It is. It's this super steep learning curve. Basically, every day I go into work, okay, what are we going to do today? Okay, I guess we're learning Patrol. Fun. So stuff like that happens. Every week I go out of this university, I know more, and that is an amazing feeling.
So are you able to apply? So your master's work is in an imaging specialty.
Yes.
Are you able to apply some of that research in this? Are you doing your own imaging, for example? Are you creating your own attributes, this type of stuff?
It's a bit detached from it, I think. So what I've done in my master's, maybe to recap it, is try different methods to improve the energy content below a salt structure. So use no, not attribute. We're not at attributes at the moment, but to improve on CMP stacking and get more energy from the subsalt content, and that did not work too well. So this work was very, very processing side, and in the oil and gas center right now, I have the done and migrated stuff, and now I'm trying to extract the attributes from there. So I'd say there is a divide in it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm building on the knowledge that I have. So when I'm looking at the logs of what people have done to the data, I know exactly what's been done, and I can tell my colleagues, yeah, they did this. Be careful about these assumptions in there, and they must be totally annoyed about me talking about assumptions in the data, because it's very vague. It makes you feel a bit smart to talk about assumptions, because you're like, yeah, I know this stuff.
Yeah.
But at some points when you're looking at this process that only works isotropically, you are very careful about your fractures, because they might introduce anisotropy in your data. So I think that is a good point to have me in there.
So are you doing fracture analysis on seismic data which was completely processed isotropically?
No, no.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was looking through all the logs, if this is kosher.
Right. Okay. I see.
But do you have access to the gathers yet, or anything like that?
You mean like pre-stack data, or just?
Yeah.
I have no clue, actually. I'm just gathering all I have. Most of the stuff we have gotten from Maersk, which is the Danish, or one of the Danish oil companies. We gotten in Petrol projects, so I think it's post-stack data cubes.
Right. And I guess at some point you'll be getting into time lapse. I imagine they've already probably done some time lapse on the project.
They have definitely, and it's really nice because their newest seismic surveys are actually designed to do 4D, so that's very good. On the Dan field, we have, well, the first survey didn't match the second survey, so they just repeated the second survey to match the first survey, and still left that would be the third survey, so the second survey was still left to match all the subsequent surveys that are going to be done in this future, which seems a bit backward to do, but it works. We have some nice 4D data that we can work on, and I'm right now, these weeks I have been working on which data is available and which data do we want to ask for, and a lot of that is 4D data because I'm the only one interested in it in my group, so we don't have a lot of it yet.
Right. Well, I feel like your the knowledge that you gain through your masters around imaging and the signal processing stuff will really help you out when you start thinking about whether it's obviously the azimuthal imaging stuff, but also on the 4D side with just being able to read what kind of processing it's been through and what you feel like you can do afterwards to improve the images and so on. So I mean, I think it'll still pay dividends in this project. It feels like.
So you guys worked on a book together, right?
Yes.
It's called 52 Things You Should Know About Geology, and I need to link that in the show notes right now. How'd that go? What's it about?
Well, have I not blathered about these books on the show before?
Not this specific book.
No, not that one. Okay, so that was the second. So there's a series of books. The fourth one's just about to come out on rock physics. This one that you're talking about, geology, is the second one that we did. So it's a multi-author volume. I can't remember how many authors that particular book has, but I think it's something like 45-ish. And yeah, basically involves me and Evan writing to everyone we can think of and like and admire, who sort of might be into the idea, who might quote unquote get it, to write a short essay about anything they want, ideally slightly edgy topics. The sort of, we really like it when people write about the kind of things they might talk about in the pub, or like slightly ranty things or slightly speculative things, because these books aren't supposed to be sort of textbooks. They're supposed to be, what would you call them? Cultural artifacts.
Yeah.
There's a little, that makes them sound much grander than they actually are, but that's the kind of intent.
I'll make sure to bury my copy in the sand for 1,000 years and have someone dig it up. So Jesper, what chapter or piece did you write?
Well, I guess it doesn't get much edgier. It's is it immoral to work in oil and gas? And so I see you're asking me in this in the show notes, have you had debates with people about this? And yes, every job interview, because I actually listed on my CV as a publication or kind of ish thingy. So I was sitting with OMV people, like the head of whatever and the head of that whatever, and they're asking me, so what's your conclusion of this? And it's interesting because everyone has an opinion on it. And
what's your just quick answer when someone asks you, like, what did you come up with? Go, like 5 minutes, go.
It depends. That's my favorite answer. But that's very well. I think it comes down to a lot of personal choice if it's moral or not. If you're driving a car everywhere you go, you should also think about your consumption of gas, actually. The people who have criticized me most for working in oil and gas were driving the biggest cars. So I think it comes down to a lot of personal responsibility of what you want to do and what you also do within a company culture. So when I see Shell invading the Nigerian parliament, I see that as a huge problem, but there's also people who are willing to do this. They are not questioning this kind of behavior, and I think if there were less people who are willing to do things like this, it would also be less, we would have a better culture. So you yourself always have to consider is what I'm doing right now actually okay just because it's company sanctioned?
There was an article on NPR this morning that claimed, and I haven't verified their claim yet, that driving an electric car, if you live in Wisconsin, actually consumes more fuel than if you drive a gasoline car, because the dirty energy grid, it's inefficient in the state, in certain parts of the state apparently, and I think that the lineage of energy consumption in a total process or in a total workflow is not considered by the average consumer, as you mentioned. Production of solar panels.
But I mean, that, yeah. To me, that kind of sort of statistic or whatever, they always sound a little bit doubtful. Not because necessarily I'm not saying I sort of doubt the. Well, no, I do doubt its veracity. I mean, I feel like it's the kind of thing that you can, how to put it, like, you can trot stuff like that out if you're lobbying for oil and gas and it sounds kind of credible, and you can probably actually produce numbers that seem to demonstrate it. But we can all do that about pretty much anything. Do you know what I mean? The parameters are so kind of fuzzy and ill-defined, and the uncertainties are big enough that you could probably draw more or less any conclusion you want. I don't know. I'm not articulating that very well, but I just feel like it's...
So contract and agile scientific give you numerical answers, right?
No, I just sort of think it's got to be a bigger debate than whether this car is better than that car. Do you know what I mean? Like, in general, it seems like being dependent on electricity gives us more options for energy generation and coping with burning hydrocarbons than having lots of fuel-hungry vehicles around. That seems, I don't know, that seems reasonably true. And so, in general, it's better to move vehicles towards being electric-powered vehicles and not fuel-powered, I think. And you may end up burning natural gas to get that fuel, but you can do that on a scale and in a way that's much more effective than burning gasoline in a 3-ton vehicle to move one person from A to B. It just feels, unless there's something I'm missing about the transmission of electricity in that part of the world or whatever, it just feels like it has more optionality associated with it to me.
Sure, this is not a forward-looking statement. I mean, this is just an analysis of one application in one consumer setting, and it may not even be true. However,
I think it's also about
but
Wisconsin. I mean, Wisconsin doesn't have the best energy net, and
that's true.
The U.S. in total doesn't have a very reliable and very efficient.
Completely inefficient. They're probably using instead of tires, they're probably using wheels of cheese or something.
It's terrible, yes.
But the other problem I have with sort of lines of argument like that is it sort of I feel like it reduces the debate to things that are it's like overfitting a model. It's like reducing the debate to small things that are debatable on another scale. So it's like, oh, we can have that debate because we can pull out sheets of specs on cars and stuff. But it also arms, the very powerful lobby that wants to say that energy change is not required and that there's no such thing as climate change, or that we're not causing, or humans aren't causing it, and that just seems like that seems regressive. Like that's not where we need to go from here. I love this idea that quote unquote ordinary people, ordinary professionals in geoscience, can and should take part in the policies and actions of the companies that they work in. And so I really like the way Jesper put that our culture and the culture of the petroleum industry actually just it's not an external thing. It's a thing that we all contribute to. We contribute to it every day in the way we talk to people and the way we interact with our co-workers and so on. And I think it's a really powerful, important idea that we're part of that and can therefore change the trajectory that the industry is on. And so when there's a public perception of, oh, what a bunch of crooks, they're always lying and they've got, ulterior motives and all this, it's like, well, yeah, a lot of that is totally true. And it's because of, and we're complicit in it if we're not talking about it and doing everything we can to change it. So, anyway, just on the morality issue, I think that's a really important point.
That is a hell of a teaser for the book. Now I'm going to have to buy it. It sounds awesome. I'm sure that there's a lot of questions asked and maybe not answered, but examined in thorough and interesting ways in the book. So check it out. There is now a link in the show notes. Here's my next question. Why does it take 5 to 7 business days to become an EAGE member? European and previous European. It is sick. I mean, online process. You should just be able to just make it happen, right? What's the deal?
Yeah, that is
there
weird.
I actually am asking. Do you guys know? Is there some sort of application review period or something?
I have no clue for the EAGE,
No.
but it takes a lot longer for the APAC, I think. One of my colleagues is trying to become a member there, and you have to have a sponsor, otherwise you won't be let in. So that is taking over half a year now to apply there.
I think you if you don't need that now in SEG, you did until quite recently. Like you needed 3, I think, sponsors. Yeah, otherwise you were you were an associate member, I think it was called, or something like that. And to be a full member, you had to have these like references.
Huh. I didn't even know that. I guess so. I was an EAGE member years ago, and apparently I've let it lapse. And I went to go read some articles on their online platform, which is lovely. And now I have to wait 5 to 7 days to get access to the articles that I want to read. So that's great. Yes, go ahead.
I think I'm a member, and I still haven't figured out how to read their articles online. It's still asking me for the $20 per conference paper to read, and I can't figure it out.
Yeah, for an organization built out of people who are cutting-edge technologists and scientists, it seems a little, shall we say, disorganized, or technologically incompetent, maybe. So I apologize for that aside. Let's get back to our guest. Yes, but you give a lot of talks and offer a lot of good advice. How did you kind of get into the sort of like, I don't want to say the academic or teaching domain, but sort of like the open public information disseminating domain?
I don't know. It just kind of happened. That's it was a slippery slide, I think. It just
Where did you start?
I just started reading online and getting on Twitter and getting to know Matt and just starting up my blog, and from there on getting onto GitHub and publishing code. And I've always been more open to, open source anyways, because I kind of like the idea that I know what my code is doing under its hood. So it was natural for me to just license my code open as well. And also since I was doing stuff for assignments, I just, like in university, I also licensed it open just because I figured it's the natural thing to do. And I don't know, the teaching part just started out, I don't know, I like to ask questions. I'm a quite outspoken vocal person, and when everyone else is just sitting there and wondering what's going on here, I like to be that person who's up front and saying, I have no clue what's going on. Can you explain it to me? I guess I'm more comfortable with being the stupid person in the room, or staging myself as the stupid person and asking, can you explain this in another way to me, because I'm really not getting it. And usually after the fact is done and in private, a couple people thanked me for it, so that's awesome. That's personally very valuable for me to kind of just put myself out there, and this has evolved into giving talks about topics and I don't know, informing people about stuff. I don't know. I think the two big topics that touched on what I'm studying are climate change and fracking, that are just these huge balls of bad information. I don't know, two sides just picking out the cherries out of the stack and just throwing stuff at each other. And I don't know, I feel like getting information out to people, giving them the power to use this information themselves is very valuable. I mean, I don't care which side they go on, as long as they can make an informed choice. So that's why I got into talks and the lightning talks that I used to do frequently, and yeah.
Cool. There's a link to
communication.
Excellent. There's a link to one of your talks on YouTube. Matt has a note here about a ball in a sock. What is this?
Oh yeah. So this was actually a competition. The Fame Lab is, you have 3 minutes to explain a scientific topic to an audience, and apparently I was doing good enough to be let into the German finals, and I had a tennis ball in a sock, which I use for juggling, so that's one of my hobbies. It's called a poi, and you just spin it around, and I just needed something to show elasticity, because I wanted to say, okay, this is how we do seismics. We use elastic waves, and this is elastic. It goes back to normal. And that just seemed like a very natural approach. And also I could make a stupid joke about in this video, I say something along the lines in German, and under professionals we call this a sock in a ball. So that got a laugh out of people, and that makes me more comfortable when people laugh in the audience.
Well, it's very cool. I like the idea of doing an explanation, a layman's explanation of complex scientific theory. So you were describing the seismic process?
Yes, mostly.
Yeah.
It was 2012. I was trying to get at the world's not going to end, and we know why. And here's why we know it. And if it's going to end, I'm sorry, but you can't sue me anymore.
Why isn't the world going to end, by the way?
Well, in 2012, it wasn't ending because,
the Mayans were wrong, you think?
Huh?
The Mayans were wrong then.
Yeah, no, some people just read their calendar wrong. It was just like the big cycle ending, so that would have been a year in our calendar. So our calendar starts new every other year. No, not every other year, every year. And they have like these different cycles, and one of the cycles is 5,000 years or something like that, and that would have ended on that.
It's tough to keep up, man. I can barely figure out what time zone we're all in. We were trying to schedule this session earlier, and I couldn't add 5 or subtract 5 or something. It was wow, a rough morning. So I wanted to mention, so once again, you may have noticed that my stupid computer has kicked me out of this recording in the beginning, and all day it has been fine. So it's obviously something that I'm doing with this recording software, and it's driving me nuts. But anyway, so I missed the news section, but I did want to mention, and I just got back to this today. There's this company making a product called Soylent. So I don't know if you guys remember the old Soylent Green, the movie with Soylent Green, but essentially this company is broken down food and nutrition into its constituent parts, right? So they wanted to create a product which would satisfy the nutritional constraints of a human being, and rather than market it as food, as something delicious and entertaining, they market it as fuel. And I just think that idea is fascinating, that the problem of fueling human beings, the biological machine, how do we make this as simple and as efficient as possible? So this is about a year ago or something, maybe 2 years ago, that I heard about this, and I wanted to order some of their products, and they had a waiting list. It was like a 6-month waiting list. So I just thought about them today. So right before we got on this call, I ordered some Soylent. So there's a link in the show notes. I'm going to go on an all Soylent diet for a week and see if I survive or whatever. So if you see me looking malnourished on the show in the next couple of weeks, you'll know why.
Let's not do a show that week.
Please do a show. I will listen to it, I promise.
Yes.
It'll just be Graham fantasizing about hamburgers.
That's right. Oh, man. Jesper, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been awesome, and I actually kind of also wanted to not thank you for being on the show, because now I have to buy that book.
Well, I'll send you, to make up for it, I'll send you a copy of the Rock Physics one for free. How's that?
Yeah, well, I did win that contest, by the way, Matt.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? Where I was already promised a free copy of that book?
I thought you were second in that contest. No, you're right. You're right.
Yes.
You're right.
You heard it here. That's on live TV or radio, wherever we are. Yeah, everybody heard it. I need a free book. Jesper, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, danke schön.
Thanks for having me.
See you next time on Undersampled Radio.